Welcome to the apex of sports ownership, the Apex Athletic Collective.
Welcome in everyone to episode 88 of Instigate Success Building an ABA Franchise. I am your host, as always, Jake Schoen, aka Jakeymuffins here, the official podcast of the Hoosier State Instigators, Apex Athletic Collective. Thank you everyone for joining us tonight. Again, every Friday night, 9 p.m. Eastern, for about an hour or so. Streaming live on the Apex Athletic Collective Twitch channel, which we'll jump into. You might have seen something else on the Twitch channel here this past week, and over on our Patreon as well. I believe 148 subscribers on Patreon, almost at that 150. Again, once we hit that 150 mark, I'll get some graphics put up for that specifically. But this weekend, we're in off season. Just about a month into the off season now. Things ending a little bit earlier this year after the season started earlier this year. Last season wrapped up the weekend of 420. This year, 420 was Easter. Hopefully everyone had a great holiday weekend. And the season wrapped up in the first weekend of April. So the league did update on the website, and they put up the scores. I know that was something I had been looking for. So we'll start off by taking a look over there and just sharing the scores from the final four games, that championship weekend games. And they put the All-Star game on there too as well. I didn't realize they really kept score of that one, but I guess we still do keep score. And they also gave out some trophies. So let's jump over there to start things off. All right, so you see there on the bottom right corner, have the final four games here. So first game was that matchup between the Buffalo Extreme and the Silicon Valley Panthers. That one I know we did have a score on from their social media that we shared. So 85-93, Buffalo up at the half, but the SVP came back strong in the second half there for that first round of the final four matchups. And then, so an 8-point victory there. Second game was a 1-point victory, the Fury over the Austin Bats. 104-103, and that game looks like it went into overtime from what it shows on there. But close games there. Obviously, we saw, like I said, the Extreme were up at half. Extreme only team going into the Final Four with a loss. The other three were undefeated entering all of those games. Very tough matchup there between the Bats and the Fury. The closest we've seen somebody to taking down the Fury up until that point, with that 1-point loss in overtime. That led to the championship matchup there between the Fury and the Panthers. And we finally have the score, at least from the first time I've seen it, up as far as that game goes. So a 131-122 victory. Chicago Fury, again, the champions of the ABA. They will have back-to-back championships now with an undefeated season this year. SVP, the Panthers have one loss, and the only loss is the biggest one there in the championship game, but definitely a very, very strong team we've seen over the past 2 years to be in the Final Four back-to-back seasons. Championship game MVP with 30 points was Jordan Baker of the Chicago Fury. And then it looks like the All-Star game went crazy. I don't know if that was in the regulation time period there, but that shows a 210-183 score. Definitely the highest score I'm aware of within the ABA. It looks like it was between Team Presley and Team Coley. I'm assuming that's maybe the coaching names for the two respective squads. All-Star Game MVP, and this is what's listed on here, I'm just reading off of this. So I'm not sure how this was decided. Guessing he's probably the leading scorer on the winning team. But somebody from our uh, division this past season, an in division player from the Windy City Inferno, Rodney Gaston Jr. Congratulations to him for being the All Star Game MVP. So, championship game MVP Jordan Baker, All Star Game MVP Rodney Gaston Jr., both from our division this season, the Central Region Black Division. Um, so, two respective teams, Chicago Fury and Windy City Inferno, being represented there. And then, honorable mention for the All Star game. This is pretty crazy. 75 points. 75. That is correct. 75 points, 25 away from that Wilt record, but getting close to that was John Dombrowski with the New Hampshire Kings. So uh, have to see, what his stats were on the year. I'll try to pull that up on another screen here while we're covering some of the other stuff, just to see if that is close to what he was averaging this past season, or if he just kind of blew up in that game. But 75 points, nonetheless, very impressive in that as well. So it looks like lots of scoring there in the All Star game and championship game. Not so much scoring as far as that goes in the first two matchups, though, for the final four games. But that is what wrapped up the ABA season for 2024-2025. ABA action will be back, I believe, in October. So still got about half the year between now and then for the off season. So once we hit off season, the Apex Athletic Collective, one of the things that we always have going on is fan votes. So this past week we had our fan votes. Um, we just had our first fan vote of the off season launch, and it is a big one. So that was the one we've been talking about for a while, the player and coaching evaluation. So last season was a little bit different as far as that goes. So let's pull this up. This is over from our Patreon page. So this is an example of what you would see if you are one of our Patreon members. And this post here is going to be it's an exclusive post that launched a few days ago. And it is exclusive to fan voter tier or higher. That is the $10 tier or higher. And with this post, you click on that and you get a link. It shoots you over to the evaluation form that you do see the screenshot of there, and you have the opportunity to go through that, have your voice heard, and have your opinion counted equally, weighting all of these opinions so you and I have the same vote. Owners, players, fans, everybody has the same weight of voting. So that is something we've really pushed for here with the Apex Athletic Collective, is having that fan voice heard, and this is a great time to do that. I can't give out the whole entire evaluation here. Obviously, that's exclusive to our fan voters, but here's just a screenshot to give you an idea of what it would look like. And it is a form there you fill out. It'll have the players listed. You'll have the opportunity to rank players on a 5-star rating system. And you go there, obviously 1 on the lower end, 5 on the higher end. And then not only for their overall ratings, we have a separate spot for individual attributes for players as well. Things like how well they do shooting, not only just overall, but their inside shooting, outside 3-point shooting, rebounding, defense, intensity, teamwork, all that type of stuff, passing, dribbling, whatnot. All that is on that evaluation. You'll be able to have your voices heard. It's a little bit different than we did last year. Like I said, last year it was on like kind of a scale like 1 to 5 different options of it being, you know, definitely want to have back to a little bit less than that, indifferent, stuff of that nature. This time it's on the like a 5-star rating system. It's a little bit more straightforward with that. But you have your voices heard. And again, we will take those voices, and everybody has the same weight. They will all be compiled, and we will review that, see where we stand as far as that goes with the team. And then obviously the guys that have the better rankings, those are the guys we're going to be trying to keep back and get back on the team for the next season. We saw this past season we were able to do that with a few of our guys, and remember we take this vote and we do utilize it, but obviously it's going to be fluid as well. Just because of certain situations, you can't always get the same roster back, but we will do our very best to get the guys back that have the highest rankings on this evaluation. So from season one into season two, we use those evaluations and we re-signed several guys, including um, our first ever signing, Joe Bird, team captain from last year, Chuck Bloom, um, you know, all-star AB Alex Brown, had Dylan Ware return, and JoJo Hart. And like I said, there is always some fluidity within the player situations. The only player that wound up being from the roster on season one all the way through season two was JoJo Hart. And again, all of those guys we used your evaluations from last season to make offers for. I know Lawan was also a guy high evaluations from season one going into season two, and he was a guy that we try to get re-signed as well. So that is something we really do take into consideration when we go into the off season here, and we try to shape our roster going into next season. We're gonna try to do that again, where we have kind of that core that we want to build in the off season and do some events with them to try to build that team chemistry, continue to build team chemistry in the off season, and then carry that momentum going into the season. I think that helped us at least to start off the season this year. Things like playing in the IBL Gold Cup, something I think we're going to be trying to do again this off season. But lots of fun things like that. We had the 3-on-3 tournaments as well. But we take that and try to build that core, keep that core together, and continue to grow it. But I think that's ultimately. I think if you look at how the season wrapped up, actually, I think I got the graphics still for the season. It's an overlay, but we can throw that up there. It's an overlay, but that is the results from season two, the second season of the ABA for the Instigators. And you see there, we started off a little bit hotter, I think, again, going into the off season and having that team building, playing in some games before going into the season. Not only that preseason matchup against the Shuckers, which we did last season as well. And this season we won that matchup. Last season we did not. The inaugural season we did not. But rolling off of a hot off season, going into the first two games with a couple of wins, and then kind of going back and forth for a little bit there to start off the season, but we were at that 500 mark or above the 500 mark for a very good portion of the first half of the season. And then the second half of the season, things kind of went a little bit awry there. But again, a lot of that had to do with more of fluidity within the roster situation, and having guys kind of fill in and stuff like that, and shifting the lineups and stuff due to that. But it's obviously something we're going to continue to grow on and try to improve for this upcoming season. And to do that, part of it is taking these evaluations and creating the roster that can best create for the third season for the Hoosier State Instigators as we go into that. But we saw we were in those power rankings after the first two games, so we were up to number 16 at that point. We saw that the whole league kind of had us on notice at that point. So if we can rock into the season the same way, and hopefully we keep it rolling this time around, hopefully we can jump even higher into those power rankings. But I think that shows the ability of the team to do that. One of the other things that is a little different on this year's evaluations is the evaluation is all in one. So instead of it being a separate evaluation for players and coaching, this year it is a full evaluation all in the one form there. So it is an evaluation of the players and the coaching. Last season we had a little bit of a different idea as far as what coaching was going to be, because we knew our coach was not returning. We had Matt Patterson as the original coach, and then Frosty took over and finished out the first inaugural season with the Instigators as the head coach. So going off of last season, we knew that Frosty was not going to be returning as the coach. This year is different, though. So instead of us asking what you are looking for in the coaching, you are actually doing an evaluation on the coaching. So this season, we had Coach Dobbs, who is the first Instigators coach to start and finish a season. So you get a chance to have your voice heard on that as well. And again, similar type of thing there with its 5-star system. So 1 to 5 stars overall, and then different types of things, schemes, offense, defense, timeouts, knowledge, basketball knowledge, that type of stuff. And you have the opportunity there to not only have your voices heard on players, but also coaching. So two very important aspects of shaping the future for the Instigators in season 3. I really look forward to seeing all these voices heard and compiled. Um, Going into this off season, we'll keep this open until it looks like the end. Is that the end of April? Yeah, so it's through the end of April, the end of this month, April 30th. So you still got just about a week left if you want to get your voices heard. Again, that is for the fan voter tier or higher. And let's get the banner scrolling there. That is where you would go over to join and become one of those members on the Patreon. And thank you again to everyone who is a Patreon member. But get your voices heard over there. Again, fan voter tier or higher. That's the $10 tier or higher. That gets you access to all these types of votes. And in the off season, you'll see stuff like this. I know we are planning on doing a camera vote as well. You're going to be able to have the opportunity to name the camera. We have the AI camera now, so that way we have a name to blame when things go awry with that. But we also have other fun votes throughout the off season. Going into the first season, we had to vote for jerseys, things of that nature, and we will continue to do that. I don't think we'll have a jersey vote, at least not that I'm aware of. And the logo, I don't think we're going to have a logo vote again either. But we will always try to have as many votes as we can during the off season. And one of our guys that always is participating in that, Night J Wright, always nice to see you in the chat. And absolutely, we try to give the fans as much as we can when it does come to the voting. One thing that we had this year that you also had access to at that fan voter tier was the fans man. So that's something we want to continue to do next season. Maybe have that a little bit more polished when we roll that into next season. But during the season, at least for the first portion of the season, the fans man was the very final roster spot, active roster spot, I should say, for each matchup. So you had an opportunity to have your voice heard and quite literally decide the final roster spot. For each game that we did have that fans man vote between some of the guys at the on the roster, but choosing for the active roster for each matchup. And then we also have players on the reserve squad too, as well. It just, wasn't able to be something that continued throughout the whole season, just because of the roster situation. We didn't have enough active players to continue to do that. Injuries and other things going on. So that is something we are planning on doing again next season. So that fan voter tier not only is important here in the off season, but it is just as important once we do get back into the season. And then, all of our Patreon members, you can join at various levels. But even the $1 tier, once we get back into the season, gives you access to live games. Um, and this isn't to sway any votes or anything. Again, this is quite literally, I have been very far behind on making some graphics, but I think this deserves a shout out because it was 2 months ago, and I think this is the very first time that I have the graphic ready. We're working on getting a social media post up. Still got to get that written up and launched, but we will be having this. So you may see this on our social media coming up here soon. Um, Finally got the graphic made at least. So here's a preview, a sneak peek. And we had the most points scored in a single game in Hoosier State Instigators history in the final regular season matchup there, February 23rd. Like I said, it was 2 months ago, so that's why I'm not swaying any votes. I'm just quite literally sharing this, which should have been shared about 2 months ago. 42 points, single game record for Levante Nelson. Congratulations to him. Long overdue, but that is something in the record books when we get our stats and record books updated going throughout the offseason. That's another thing to look forward to, is for us to get all these type of things updated to keep track of over on the website during the offseason. Right now, I think you can look, and I think it's got the records from last season on there, if I'm not mistaken. And 42 points is the new single game record. I believe 40 was the previous record. So congrats to Tay, and well deserved. And like I said, a little bit delayed on that graphic, but figure out I'd share it now that I've got it finished, regardless of whether it's posted yet or not. It will be posted eventually. So there is that. But again, you got that evaluation out here now. Have your opportunity to have your voices be heard. And we've got we also had another thing launch over on the Patreon for all of our Patreon members. You may have seen this, I believe it was last night, or if you're watching live on Twitch, may have seen it and watched it last night. But we had our very first episode of Dark Web Wrestling, hosted by Corey and Frosty. And I was at work, so I didn't get a chance to catch it live. I caught a couple of clips though, and looks like it went pretty well. I look forward to having some time here to catch the full episode, so I get fully caught up on it. But from the clips I saw, it looked like lots of fun, and something that we will be having here monthly throughout the off season. So we'll be posting as far as when the next stream for the show will be coming up. But that is something that we will continue to be doing throughout the off season. So as far as that goes, for all of our streamers of the Apex Athletic Collective Twitch, you'll have that to look forward to during the off season. And then obviously this is on our Hoosier State Instigators YouTube, as far as if you're catching this on a delay, or if you're catching this on, yeah, actually, if you are catching this on a delay, it's over on our YouTube. You can also check it out on the Apex Athletic Collective Twitch, or Dark Web Wrestling does have its own YouTube as well. You can catch it there. So a couple of different ways you can watch that. Again, through Twitch. If you're a member of the Patreon, you can watch it there, or Dark Web Wrestling YouTube. So that is one of the things we got going on here in the off season as far as the streams go. We will be launching, or relaunching, I should say, Amateur Night. So that is something coming up here in the near future. Still getting the details hammered out on that one. But as soon as we do, we will definitely get that shared so everyone can get, you know, catch those episodes and streams as well. And reminder, if you do have any amateur sports footage that you are looking, or you would like to have shared for us to do some commentary, Mr. Cedar Mystery Theater 3000 style. Yeah, mess that up a little bit. But yeah, so that style. Corey and we will be doing that. So we definitely welcome any amateur footage, amateur sports footage that you have that you would like to have shared on Amateur Night. We would definitely be open to that, and we can definitely work on getting that scheduled into Amateur Night here during the off season. So couple of shows that you'll have going on here. And again, as always, if you guys have any ideas for other shows, or if you are interested in doing a show with the Apex Athletic Collective, you can always hit us up, let us know. And that also goes for fan voting too. So if there's something during the off season that you think, and you keep sitting there and you think like, hey, I really think maybe we should talk about something with the instigators. I'll spitball one out there. Maybe you're like, hey, maybe we should do you know uh alternate colorway, something like that. Not saying that's something we are going to be doing, but if we have enough people that want something to happen, definitely let us know. And if we get enough people that want it to happen, we are going to do a vote on that and see what the outcome is. But we'll definitely have more votes. But if you have ideas for things you want to have voted on, definitely let us know, and we will work on getting that pushed out so we can have more votes out for the off season. Like I said, the one that I know we are working on, and we will have eventually, is going to be that camera vote. That is definitely one that we will have out there. You might have to open up submissions here eventually just to get a list of them, and then we can do a vote from there. But that is one of the things we got going on. In addition to that, player and coaching evaluation, again, that's a huge one. I think if you had to put a list of important votes, that is definitely near the top as far as the off-season votes are going to go, if not at the very top. But it is important to have your voices heard. Obviously this week and weekend, I guess it started yesterday. We have the NFL draft going on. So I know a lot of you came over from, the fan controlled football side. So you're used to those, having your voices heard, making your voices literally decide the team. So this is your chance here with the Apex Athletic Collective and the Hoosier State Instigators to have that heard. Maybe you're sitting at the TV right now and watching this stream while also watching the draft and counting down the picks until you see Shador Sanders selected. I just had to double check, make sure he hadn't been selected yet. As far as I can tell, he has not been. We're entering the third round now. not I can't say I would have thought he'd be entering the third round and he had not been selected, but interesting to say at the least. Regardless of where you thought he was gonna go, I think the majority of people had him or had expected him to go in the first round. So if you're sitting at the TV and you think maybe that pick should have been made, well, this is your chance. If this is quite literally your chance to have your voice heard with a uh, professional basketball team, professional franchise, or maybe you're a Bucks fan like me. I've got the flags back there, and you're questioning why did we draft a number 3 or 4 receiver with our first round pick? Again, have your voice heard. Have things like that not happen. Not saying it's a bad player, but questionable pick because of the depth in that position. But regardless, this is your chance to have your voice heard and quite literally shape the future of the team. Again, I think this is the coolest aspect with the Apex Athletic Collective, and the thing that us that come from that fan controlled side, having the voices of the fans heard and equally weighted. Obviously, fan controlled is a little bit different as far as the equal weighting system, but this is quite literally equal weighting system. Each and every single voice is equal as far as that goes. So regardless of whether you are owner, fan, coach, player, etc., your voice is all heard and all equally heard, and compiled into that data that we do use and review going into the off season. But that is what we got going on here. But definitely, I'm still shocked on that, if I'm being honest. It's something I'm going to keep an eye on. I'm sure I'll probably bring it up next week as well as far as that goes. And then obviously myself, being Syracuse alum, waiting to see if we got any Syracuse guys that get drafted here. I know our quarterback was pretty decent this year. An Ohio State transfer, Kyle McCord. Got a couple of other guys that were pretty decent as far as the offense goes. I think we got a few that could get drafted. But if you're watching the NFL draft, enjoy that this weekend. But it's one of the more fun aspects, I think. Um, of the off season, and I think this goes in conjunction with that. Obviously, ours is a little bit different as far as the setup. We don't have an open draft system, so it's the tryout system. We sign players from the tryouts, but the players we sign from tryouts are going to be built around the core that we decide from these player evaluations. So, if you want guys like, second team All ABA, Malcolm Martin this past year, back on the team, let your voice be heard. Let that be known, and then we can continue to grow around the guys that do receive those higher rankings within the players from this past season. And again, we'll try to build that core of the roster, have them play some games, and build that team chemistry in the off season, and get things ramped up again to jump into season 3. But that is the big news for this week. You got 5 more days through the end of this month to have your voices heard. And there is also, I did not mention this yet, there is also a spot on there. So it's got like biggest weaknesses, biggest positives, things of that nature. And then also like a section just for comments in general. You can quite literally put each and every opinion that you have on there, each and every thought you have on there. We absolutely love to hear what our fans have to say as far as the season went. And it doesn't necessarily just have to be in relations to the player and coaching evaluations. Say you thought this season, as far as the streams went, there was something in particular that you wanted us to know about that. You can always throw the comment in there. You can also message us directly as far as things like that go. But definitely let us know anything that you think either went well or think that needs improvement going into next season. We really do read and review that, and obviously we want to continue to build this and continue to improve it and make it the best product possible. When we go into season 3 for our game streams, we want to have the best players on the court, best coaching on the court, and best broadcast as possible. So anything like that, just let us know for sure, and we definitely will do our best to address any of that. If there's things you thought we did good, say if you thought the fans man vote was cool, but you don't want to have it just for a few games this next year. You want to make sure it's something that happens every week. Tell us, let us know. Hey, the fans man was cool, but like, hey, don't offer it and then cut it out in the season. Um, you know, Let us know. That's definitely something. We're very open as far as taking fans' voices and opinions and all that. We really do use that to shape the future. So definitely let us know anything that you have to say, and this is a great opportunity to do that. And then we are always open. You can message the team directly on any of our pages, on our website, the email through there, or you can always hit us up individually. I'm always open as far as if anyone has any suggestions, you can always reach out to me directly on that as well. But that is also one of the other cool aspects within this evaluation is it is not just an opportunity for you to let us know players and coaching evaluation, but it's also like a whole entire team and franchise and operations evaluation, if I'm being quite honest. And we really, again, we want to make this the best product possible, and the best way to do that is by having it tailored to the voices of our fans. So that is the opportunity that we have here. But that's our big news for this week. And obviously, Dark Web Wrestling launched. So first episode of that went out. Be on the lookout for upcoming episodes of that. Upcoming episodes of Amateur Night. And actually, let me see if I can pull up. I said I was going to pull up and see if I can find stats. All right, so I did, it looks like. Stats from a player who scored 75 in the All-Star matchup, John Dombrowski. Let me pull that up because that is interesting. Like I said, I wanted to pull that up and see if I can find any more stats on that. And yeah, we got his stats page over on my stats. Let's switch the screen to that, just because I'm always interested in stuff like that. So it's pretty much an incomplete page, it looks like. But here is what we've got on the page. So 37 is the highest reported. 37 is impressive. But again, an incomplete page there. Some of these games are just all zeroed out, but 37 points in one of those matchups. So definitely he seems to be a capable scorer, but 75 is pretty crazy, regardless of what game it was. So interesting to note. I just thought, again, 75 is crazy. I cannot think of a time I have seen somebody score 75 in a game, at least in person. I know I've been to a couple of the games against the Kings, and we saw Cam put up 40 plus, and that's extremely impressive. To have somebody score almost twice as much as that is crazy to think about. And hopefully, if we ever witness that, that is somebody from the instigators that's doing that and not the opposition. But I don't know. That's just crazy. I cannot think of another time. Maybe there's somewhere else in the season somebody had at 75 plus points, but that's that's just such a huge number that I cannot recall another time that I have seen that in the ABA. I know we do have guys that average 40 plus points, so it is something that obviously does happen, but it's just not something that seems to happen crazy often. Um, but I mean, that is most of our updates here as far as this week episode goes. I do just want to wrap up this week's episode with a special, I guess, shout out. I'm not necessarily sure how to word that as far as the best way goes with that, to be completely honest. So I guess maybe it's in memoriam. But this past week, we did have a member, one of our fans of the Hoosier State Instigators, pass away. It was the gentleman behind the tattoo that I do have on my chest. So you may know him as Wicked Utopia. That was his handle on Instagram. Rob Flanagan. He did pass away this past week. So condolences to his family and all his friends and everyone who's had you know his was impacted by his life, and received one of his tattoos. But an amazing guy, somebody that did an amazing job at what he did, and he loved what he did. So we will miss you, and you'll always be the man behind the Instigators tattoo. Somebody we will always remember for that, and thank for that memory. So I just wanted to you know, give a, like I said, I don't really know the word for it. I guess shout out in memoriam, whatever it is, but just to share that, and thank him for doing that with the being open to that, and helping create the wonderful tattoo that is so lovingly placed over my heart with the Instigators logo. So I guess a moment of silence for that. But that is, again, that's pretty much it for tonight's episode. Again, get your voices heard with the Instigators on the Apex Athletic Collective Patreon. Um, Season evaluations open now through the end of the month. Make sure you get your voices heard, again, exclusive to the Patreon members at that fan voter tier or higher. So make sure you get your voice in and heard before that deadline. You got the rest of the month to do it. And again, let us know everything that you want us to know when it comes to the season, not only players, coaching, but just anything in general, that you want us to know as far as what you thought, what you liked, what you think we should improve as we go into next season. Thank you again to everyone who tunes in and everyone who helps shape the future of this franchise and the Apex Athletic Collective, the Hoosier State Instigators, everyone who follows us, on all of the mediums here. If you're catching this over on our Twitch channel, if you're a member of the Patreon, subscriber on YouTube, you're watching this on a delay, and everyone who follows us on social medias. But get your voice heard. Thank you again for tuning in on tonight's episode. We'll be back again every Friday night. We'll be back 9 p.m. Eastern, roughly an hour or so each week for Instigate Success, Building an ABA Franchise, the official podcast of your Hoosier State Instigators. But until next time, as always, be great and instigate.